My name's Damian Goodburn. I'm an archaeologist who specialises in investigating early woodworking, including boat building and Saxon boat building in particular. My role is to help provide practical advice on what Saxon woodwork involved, the tools they used, the raw materials. And I've also done a fair bit of reconstruction work for museums and experiments in early woodworking. What you have to remember is that after many decades of looking at Saxon woodwork, we found that they didn't use saws like the Romans who were here before them, and to make boards and planks they had to split them out of the tree in a controlled way. Now ideally they would choose a large log with very straight grain to split the boards they needed for shipbuilding, and what we've been trying to do today is follow that procedure with a large oak log, such as the original builders of the Sutton Hoo ship would use. We're trying to produce boards to make a section of the ship, to experiment with where the crew would sit, how they would row, what the internal structure was like, because none of that was preserved, or very little of that was preserved in the impression of the ship in the ground. So we have to look at other ship finds, and we have to experiment with real people, sit them down in the cross-section and work out where the various bits of structure are to allow it to be rowed. We know it was a rowed ship, but we don't know even what they were sitting on and what the internal structure was like, really. We probably use this technique, which is called radial splitting or cleaving, for the boards in the ends of the ship that are high up in the sun and the wind, where they're most prone to weathering. And this particular kind of board is very resistant to splitting and distortion. The boards made from half logs or sawn planking, as used in recent times, is less resistant to the splitting and distortion, but that's less important in the lower part of the ship. So we'll probably use a combination of materials. Later in medieval times, when people were building similar ships of overlapping boards in the clinker style, they often mixed sawn and split boards together. So for some of the reasons that we face, that it's difficult to get logs long enough to split into nice regular boards. But with a saw you can cut through some of those irregularities and use second-rate timber. Still good timber, but not as good as we need for those boards. I think the overall time frame is about 2 years for the build of the ship, but that will include inevitably some modern technology compromises as well as authentic pucker Saxon woodwork with Saxon toolkits. If we used authentic Saxon techniques, we'd have to spend, I would say, probably 5 years training the team to start with first. So if you're going to factor in all of that, then it's a long project. This project is as much about learning opportunities and presenting Saxon archaeology to the public as it is about building the ship. The people who've got the most experience of this work are in Denmark, and if we got some of the experienced Danish shipwrights over to help people like me with the training and to do some of the work, then we could work a lot quicker. We've spent a very long time trying to split the log in half. We will be able to use some of the timber, but unfortunately, although the log looked near perfect at the beginning of the day, as soon as we stripped off the bark, we started to realise it had a spiral grain that was hidden from us initially. And that meant, if you can imagine, that the planks, instead of being flat and straight, come out with a great twist in them like a propeller blade. If you've got a better log than this, a more cooperative log with straighter grain, you can get to the stage of 8 splits and start to be making planking by the end of the day with a group of 6 people, which we've actually done in this workshop before, with far from perfect logs, but logs that were more cooperative than this one. So it really depends entirely on the quality of the timber, and that's what an awful lot of this is about. For this project we may well have to make some compromises because of the severe difficulty of getting timber of the right quality. The right straightness of the grain is the particular problem. It's not the curved ribs that we're going to make for the ship that are going to be the problem, or there shouldn't be a major one. It's actually the long, fine planking that they use for the ship.